open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
This is Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
Welcome to Kentucky's Voice. We are so excited to have you here today. My name is Debbie Robbins, and I'm going to be joined by my co-host Bob here in just a moment. And our other co-host Tom, he's out doing great things for Kentucky's Voice this week. But we are so happy to be with you, our listening audience on 970 AM, The Answer. Welcome. We are so glad you're here, and we hope that you'll join in on the conversation today at 502-571-0970. I love Kentucky's Voice. We are the only conservative voice that talks to you from a Christian perspective, of which I know all of you out there listening, most of you share the same views and the same values, and we're so glad that you're here. This program is listener supported, and we appreciate every sponsor that we have and every individual that helps us. And if you would like to help us and keep our show on the air, we'd love to let you know. You can go to www.kyvoice.org. There's a place to click and to make a donation. We'd love to have your help anytime, because this show is about our voice, Kentucky's voice. I'm really excited about today's show. I told you yesterday we had State Senator Lindsey Tishner on, who gave us the senator version of what happened in the state legislature this year. But today we have a phenomenal guest who represents the House side, and his name is John Hodgson, and we'll be introducing him more in just a few moments. I'm so excited about what happened in the legislature this year. There were some great strides made, but a whole lot of other things, too, that we as conservatives would have liked to have seen done. But the time is limited, and it's so difficult. And when you have well over 100 bills that were filed, it's really tough to be the one that gets, some traction. I know for me that I was really excited about, 3 different things that happened. One for me was that judges now can let us know their party. If you're running for judge, we can know if you're independent, Democrat, Republican, and even though it's a nonpartisan race. But I think that helps shape and help us understand and gives us an idea of how they think and where they come from. But it's up to us as citizens, again, to do our research. We have to be the ones that will go look at cases. And even though I'm not the kind of person that loves to dig into every detail, it's so important to me to know that those people that make those kind of decisions, people that are judges, that interpret law, I've got to know that those are people that we can trust. So thank you, legislature, for doing that. I'm also glad that gun control, that no longer, at least in the state of Kentucky, can we sue the manufacturers of guns, because I absolutely am devastated over anyone that dies from a gunshot wound. But the real fact is that people kill people, and they're going to kill you any way they want if they're having evil in their heart or if they have something out for someone else. But to blame a manufacturer of a product that also serves to help us and protect us just isn't right. So maybe John will be explaining more about that to us as well. But the other thing I'm really excited about, we're going to talk about, and a multitude of other things, is the school board, the Jefferson County School Board. It is being reformed from 7 members to 5, so it's going to, break it up to a bigger chunk, and I'm really excited about that. I want to let you know, too, we just completed 3 interviews. Jim Waters completed 3 interviews with our state Senate candidates. Actually, I have that wrong. I forget the other host's name right now who interviewed Nate Morris, but we've interviewed Daniel Cameron. Thank you. Andrew Cooper. Thank you, producer Dan. He's talking to me. He said Andrew Cooper Ryder interviewed Nate Morris, and then Jim Waters interviewed Daniel Cameron and also Andy Barr. We are making a 2-hour special from those interviews to give you great background on these men, their bios, what the issues they stand for, and that's going to air on May the 8th, and it's going to be right before a live debate that we're a part of. Now, don't go anywhere. We're coming right back to introduce John. We can't wait to come back. Stay right where you are.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We're going to be bringing in Bob, my co-host, any moment, of course, with technology. We're just having one of those days today where technology is having its way, but he'll be with us shortly. But I am very excited and honored to introduce our special guest today, who is with us. His name is John Hodgson. He is one of our Kentucky House representatives. He represents District 36, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from where I reside in this beautiful county. And actually, he used to be my House rep, but when they redistricted, it changed things. But John does an incredible job. You talk about a patriot, a man who loves America, a man who loves his family, a man who wants what's right to be right and to be front and center. I can't think of anyone more wonderful to be representing District 36 than John Hodgson. He was elected in 2022. We've asked him to come in today to talk about the session, and he has about 8 bills that he wants to get through and to cover. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get him right in here, and when Bob gets to join us, that'll be awesome. So John, welcome to the program today.
Hey, Debbie, great to see you. Thank you for that intro. I'll try to live up to it.
Aw, you do live up to it, and I love your family so much. You all are just amazing people, but I'm so thankful you're here today, and I'm just going to toss it to you to give us your impression of this year's legislative session, what things you were very passionate about, what happened that was good, that you were glad got passed, and then maybe at the end of the program, we can talk about what didn't get passed, but you're going to work on for next year, and how we can be a part of that to make sure it happens. All right, sure. The floor is yours.
Thank you. The long session, which occurs in even-numbered years, 60 legislative days, the 2 big things that we've got to get done are the budget, and we have a balanced budget amendment in Kentucky, so expenses have to match revenues, and then the other thing is the road plan and the road budget. So those are constitutional responsibilities. We've got to get them done. Occasionally in the past, prior to the Republicans taking over, it hadn't gotten done on time, but those are do or die things for us. In addition to that, there's about 1,000 bills that get filed.
Oh my! And so I was totally wrong by saying 100. Okay.
By a factor of 10, yes.
Oh yeah.
About 1,000 get filed. Everybody who files them thinks they're important, wants to get them heard. Only a couple of hundred of them get selected for a committee hearing, and then a lot of them pass one house and not the other. And I've had bills get passed unanimously in the House and not even get a hearing in the Senate, and vice versa.
Would you mind if I interject a question here real quickly?
Sure.
How do ones rise to the top? Is it severe lobbying on your part or people calling in? How do we make sure things that are really important get heard? How does that happen, the 200?
Well, it's all of those things. You have to have a topic that's of interest to the broad majority. I usually start early. I try to get a lot of co-sponsors. The more people co-sponsor a bill, the more likely it is to get heard. Public pressure does play into it a little bit, but frankly, you've got 5 members of leadership in the House and 5 in the Senate that are the traffic cops. They determine what gets a committee hearing and what does not. So it has to be something that is at least acceptable to them.
Okay.
To avoid that veto. Then the committee chairman has to agree to hear it also.
Okay.
So it's like launching a nuclear missile. Everybody has to turn their keys at the same time.
Oh
And
my
obviously,
goodness.
obviously, it only happens with about 1 out of 5 bills. So, I file bills and I work hard to get them heard, and sometimes great bills don't. And I'll file them again the next year. And I passed one this year that was the 4th year.
Wow.
Put a bill in to regulate automated license plate readers. And I had passed it unanimously in the House twice, but couldn't get over the finish line. So this time we did after 4 years. So if you're serious about it, you just don't give up and keep pressing harder.
You work hard, and we really appreciate that. What is the first bill that you were excited about getting passed this year? Or what one you want to talk about? Let's just go through. And people, I want to let people know, 502-571-0970. We have a House representative on the line today. Please send in your questions to him or any comments. This is a wonderful privilege to talk and to be a part of the process. Thanks, John. So go right ahead.
So what I think the secret decoder ring here is that single-digit bill numbers, 1 through 10, are the priorities of the leadership in each chamber. So House Bill 1 through 10, Senate Bill 1 through 10 are priorities, and you can usually count on those being heard, probably passing. And I think the lower the number, kind of the higher the priority. And the most exciting bill, I think, was House Bill 1, which is federal education opportunity scholarships. That allows everyone in Kentucky to donate up to $1,700 a year to a scholarship granting organization in Kentucky, and then receive every dollar back as a federal tax credit. So it's nothing out of your pocket, but it puts money in the pockets of Kentucky students, and that can be used anywhere. You can use it at your public school, your private school, your parochial school. You can use it for tutoring. You can use it for special training in phonics, transportation, certain other expenses. But there are some income caps on the recipients. And so I hope that schools are busily creating scholarship granting organizations, SGOs, to take advantage of that money, because it could be millions of dollars.
And that can be public or private, right? Public or private schools.
Yes, in any school, and used for non-school things like tutoring. So let's say you're in public school, but you're struggling with English or reading or something like that, you could pay for tutoring outside of school.
And also, just to make it clear to the public, this was something that our governor vetoed, the school choice bill, and the Supreme Court overturned your all's vote from last year, was it? So I want people to know that, and that you all didn't stop, and that, tell me more.
Well, and what's amazing about that is there's not a dime of Kentucky taxpayer money involved. This is Donald Trump's agenda to do this in all 50 states. All the state has to do is opt in, and we've got another state executive officer who's going to be handling the funds and dispersing the funds because the governor didn't want to touch it. But they are so against the very idea of school choice that they won't even allow donated money coming in from out of state to help our school kids, public and private. So, but that. We passed that overwhelmingly. We overrode the veto overwhelmingly, and it's now reality. So everybody can give up to $1,700. Doesn't cost you a dime out of your pocket because you get all that refunded, and it goes to scholarship granting organizations that you designate in Kentucky. And then those scholarship organizations could give large or small amounts to any number of children. So it's just limited by that amount of money involved. So. And
John, are we allowed to designate that to certain schools, or is it just to a general fund?
The rule is you have to have a qualified scholarship granting organization, and they have to have at least 2 schools represented. So even in a rural county, it could be the middle school and the high school, the 2 schools.
Okay.
And then that scholarship granting organization has rules, and they decide what kids get the help and how much they get based on their criteria.
Great. And I know there's probably a website that we can go to get the details that you're saying to us or reiterating, or is there yet?
I don't know if the details are all ironed out yet. We just got through with the session midnight a couple of days ago. So
what? You mean you all didn't get all that done in 24 hours?
Well, it's, we have to have a length of time for people who are directed to do things by bills to act. So some bills go into effect immediately with an emergency clause. Most of them go into effect about July 1st to let the agencies figure out what they're doing. But that's a great bill.
Wonderful.
For all Kentucky school kids. Another one that I was excited about, I mentioned before, it took me 4 times to get it done, was the automated license plate reader bill.
Yes.
Everybody has seen these things. Flock Camera is the brand name, but there are many manufacturers, public and private, of these things. They capture your license plate reader data, bounce it against the cloud, and find out who owns that car. And you can use that to solve crime, catch fleeing felons, carjackers, kidnapping, that sort of thing. It's a great crime fighting tool, but we know that information right now is completely unregulated. It stays in the cloud. It can map your comings and goings for months or years, and it can be sold or transferred to anyone out there.
Not
private
good.
Investigators, the Chinese communists, the Cuban government could be, going to anybody. Imagine if you are a Cuban exile, as we have 30,000 of Cuban exiles living in Kentucky, and the communist government in Havana wants to keep track of you. Well, they could go buy your license plate reader data from some aggregator right now. So this bill prevents that. It says this data can only be used for certain purposes, fighting crime and security and things like that. It can only be retained for 90 days and then destroyed, even by the government, and that it can't be transferred or sold to anybody outside of narrowly defined things. So
that is
cuts
excellent.
off that avenue. So
now, this is a bill that you sponsored, a bill that you wrote and sponsored, correct?
I did.
Of course. I know. This is why I love John Hodgson, because you are the common sense guy for us, and we so appreciate it. That is excellent. Excellent.
Appreciate it. It took 4 years of banging through. The bill kept growing and getting longer, and somebody said, "What about this unintended consequence? What about this exception?" Like, holy cow! Okay, we'll go change that. But we finally reached the point everybody was happy.
Yes.
And got it passed.
I'm excited. And that'll be up and running or be law by July 1st.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
So,
Great.
so
People, call in and talk to us. 502-571-0970. We want to hear your thoughts. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. And Debbie, you mentioned Senate Bill 4, which is going to affect everybody here in Jefferson County. This is kind of a funny story. We had a bill a couple of years ago, Senate Bill 1, that said, we don't think the school board should be allowed to micromanage the superintendent as he's carrying out his job responsibilities. The JCPS sued the legislature and said, you can't do that. You can't treat us differently than any other school. The Supreme Court ruled in their favor. After they first ruled in the legislature's favor, and then one Democrat judge got elected to the Supreme Court, and they decided to hear the case again and ruled the other way. And guess who bankrolled that judge? Well, it was Andy Beshear, and it was the teachers union. So they got what they wanted, but what they said was, you can't treat us like any other, you have to treat us like every other school district. So they said, we've got 7 school board members, not 5, which is what the whole rest of the state has. So now the board will be dissolved. Everyone loses their seat. It'll be redistricted into 5 districts, and we get a chance to elect some new blood, and hopefully people that will do a better job of keeping track of the $2.3 billion budget that they have. They somehow misplaced $188 million of a couple of years ago.
Oh, my goodness. Oh,
it's
wow.
been a travesty. But we're going to get some new blood on the board. We'll have a chance to vote for new people. We'll have
That'd be great. Well, you know what? Let's continue this conversation in just a moment. We're going to be coming right back. And I hope that you all will call in at text 502-571-0970. Don't miss out on our conversation with Representative John Hodgson. We'll be right back to Kentucky's Voice.
Back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We are really happy today to have John Hodgson, a House representative from Kentucky's District 36, with us today. We were just talking about the Jefferson County Public School System and the school board. And John, I wanted you to continue elaborating on that bill and what's happened there, and so our Jefferson County residents especially can understand what's going on.
Sure. So the mechanism, the way it works is we have elected school board members. Frequently, the teachers union, the JCTA, will play heavily in those elections. They donate their PAC, typically a couple of $100,000 to the candidates they want. Teachers get a day off to work the polls, so they'll be sitting out in a lawn chair 101 feet from the front door, waving the name of their person they want to elect. A lot of times people come to the polls and they go, I don't know who's running. So the sign says Debbie Robbins, yeah, I'll vote for Debbie Robbins. And what we end up getting usually is 6 or 7 out of 7 are the candidates that have been selected by the JCTA. And unfortunately, a lot of those tend to be very socially liberal. They have an agenda that they want to push. They have the job to go out and hire a superintendent. They negotiate a contract, do a national search. They hire somebody, put them in place. And then that superintendent will be trying to do some common sense things, enforce discipline in the classroom, teach kids to read, keep kids safe, that kind of stuff. And that school board then comes in and starts micromanaging them. I know we gave you the contract. I know we elected you. We want you to do this. So it's been frustrating as we try to get that superintendent to execute the laws we pass, and the school board intervenes and blocks him. That's why a bill was passed a couple of years ago to say that they cannot intervene and micromanage as much as they had. If you're going to give somebody the job, let him do the job. Let him do the job within the parameters of the law.
Yeah, I have a quick question here. Maybe you know the answer to this. Why could we pass a law that makes us have to get a superintendent from Kentucky? I know that may not always be the answer, but to me, I was born and raised here. This is my home. And I know I graduated from Jefferson County Public Schools. I only have one child, and unfortunately, because of the conditions of the schools, we put him through private school. But yet we pay our taxes. And it's not that I'm against someone from outside of Kentucky, but it just seems that, and even though we had Marty Polio, the guy prior, and he seemed to be a puppet to everything. But I don't know, or can that not even be in an elected position by the people? If it was a Kentucky, we had to have, if we had qualifications for the superintendent, and then that we have an opportunity to have a voice. What are your thoughts on that? Interjected here.
Our structure on school regulation and taxation is pretty heavily regulated by both the Constitution and law. So, you could change that. I will tell you that in our general fund, about 55% of the money that we spend in this state goes to K through 12 and some college education. So the education cabal has a huge amount of influence in most smaller counties, probably 100 smaller counties. They are the largest employer in the county with the highest paid people. So they have an enormous amount of clout, and doing something like what you described would be very difficult without their support. Just politically, to get 51 votes to make it happen. I don't care where somebody's from as long as they do the right job. I like our current superintendent. I've met with him frequently. He actually came from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, which is kind of a no-nonsense basics approach. Keep the kids safe, avoid violence in school, teach them to read and write, and make them employable when they graduate. That's what he wants to do. Unfortunately, the board that he's had wants to push risky social experiments, things like DEI and transgenderism on the kids. How about just teaching them how to read before you try to teach them that a man can have a baby?
Exactly.
In fact, maybe just leave out the whole part about we think a man can have a baby and teach them to read and write and get a job when they graduate. So,
well, I'm glad you've met with him, but I have a question for you. I saw him on a local newscast, and it appeared, and we've also had Adam Gillette on this show, who is Accuracy in Media. He's going behind the scenes and doing a lot of exposing of DEI, especially at the university level. He's had some real videos on UK. He's coming back in a couple of weeks on University of Louisville. But what my question is that I saw the new superintendent. He was talking to his people. He kind of let it be known when they had 300 jobs that they were supposed to eliminate in DEI, he basically just moved these people around. He didn't eliminate anything. And, that is a bloated budget. These were all DEI positions. So Where's the accountability there? He was told to get rid of those positions and didn't.
So, he proposed to the board to get rid of those positions to get down below the budget, and it was 300 people out of the headquarters staff, not necessarily just DEI, but that included folks in that job description.
Yeah, and I'm quoting out of, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but something on the newscast, he said something about, well, I'm taking care of that, but people those that are in the know in the system, they know those people just got shuffled around. So
somehow they have to come up with the money at the end of the day, and they're talking about where to cut. We can't officially give that superintendent direction. We just allocate amount of money that goes to schools in general, not particular schools. And he knows he's got to get $188 million worth of fat out of the budget to be able to operate. And so there's been some internal squabbles about who gets laid off, who gets a pay cut. We absolutely in lockstep think you need to be getting rid of the 6-figure people at the headquarters building that don't do anything productive with students.
I would say, and especially if they have a DEI job, which has been by law, you all have said no.
Yep, and the school board has said we don't care what the law says. That's going to continue to be a priority for them.
I know. And so where is the accountability? Where does it come down? This is the frustrating
accountability
for me.
comes down to the voters.
Okay.
And unfortunately, our voters don't typically get very involved in school board elections. They don't support candidates. People don't even run. And almost invariably, the candidate supported by the teachers union wins.
Right.
And then they end up having a very liberal member of the school board. So it's frustrating.
It is, but the exciting thing is that you all did pass this law, and now we get to erase these people. And I think, what is the deadline for people to apply to run once we know the lines? Because I would love to know where I am. I'm trying to show this on the camera where I am on here. I would like to know, what are the addresses? Because if we know qualified people, we want to get them running. And I think it's like July 1st, either June 1st or July 1st to apply to run. Is that right?
Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah.
I can't tell you for sure, Debbie. That's close to right. And I think people are out trying to recruit candidates now and figure out exactly where the line is. And you'll need to, go to an actual version of the map with your actual address to figure out where you are. Our current school board rep out east, Taylor Everett, ended up getting a free ride because his opponent was outside the district when they filed. and didn't realize it. So you got to be in the right district when you file.
You sure do. You sure do.
But Taylor has been awesome, and he's the only one out of the 7 that I really support. And he will run again, and he'll have
mine too, my absolute support if I'm in his district. But if not, we will certainly make sure the word's out. But he needs help. He needs 2 more. He needs 2 more. 2 more conservatives out there. So I know I want to keep moving on because I know you have so much you want to cover. So go ahead. Next topic.
Next up, House Bill 10 has to do with governor transition and transition of elected offices. Every time a new administration comes in, they have a chance to fire all the political appointees, make some changes. But also in those weeks after the election, before they leave offices, they promote people, they sign contracts, they settle legal disputes, they can shred records and things like that. So my bill, House Bill 10, very comprehensive, passed both houses, puts a lot of guidelines around that, prevents them from destroying some of those records, and puts contracts and promotions and appointments and things like that under additional scrutiny so that a governor or attorney general can't just do whatever they want in those final weeks at the expense of Kentucky. When Daddy Beshear went out in 2015, on the last day, the last 24 hours, signed what ended up being a horrible $1 billion contract for Kentucky Wired that obligated our state for 30 years. And there was nothing the incoming governor could do about it. So under this bill, a contract of that size would get additional scrutiny from the finance cabinet and from the state treasurer. Somebody shine some light on this stuff. It doesn't take away the governor's authority. It just says other people need to know, other people need to look at it. Andy, of course, Beshear vetoed that. I fully expect there will be some kind of court challenge.
I love it.
I like that graphic. I wish he'd been holding that sign in 2020 when he was trying to be the king. But,
no kidding. My goodness.
Obviously, everything in his world is surrounding running for president. And
we're going to have to talk about that. He's not
trying at the end of his term to extract donations for people in exchange for favors that he can grant leaving office. And House Bill 10 aims to stop that.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation when we come back. Don't go away. 502-571-0970. Come back and join us.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
Welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We are so glad that Bob was able to join us. He's been able to listen, and he's been looking at your texts right now. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Hey, it's just good to be here. Let me tell you, it's always fun dealing with technology.
I know.
That's for certain. I literally had to switch computers to be able to get in on this great scale. And by the way, Representative Hodgson, absolutely phenomenal discussion that you've been having. That's why we love you and having you on here, because you're able to take things head on. But we have gotten a lot of texts that have come in. I'll share a couple of them with you. I guess going back to HB1, does it prohibit scholarship use by illegals? They didn't misplace $188 million. The school board, this is from the same person, and Superintendent Polio spent as a recurring expenses when they thought the COVID one-time money would keep coming. More of a comment. And the final
correct.
comment was cut JCPS headquarters staff to the bone.
I agree with that.
As a way of saving expenses. That's not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah, so I'll answer those in order. First, the scholarship granting organization determines who they grant scholarships to. It's not our Kentucky tax money, so we cannot, direct them on how to do that. You're actually making a donation to the scholarship granting organization and then getting a credit on your federal taxes. So I would suggest, if you do want to talk to your scholarship granting organization before you write your check and say, I don't want you giving any money to illegals for scholarships, I would think most of those would be agreeable with that, and just don't donate your money to them.
Well, I would hope the president or whoever set that up made that an issue, clearly made that a part of it, or let's hope so anyway.
I'm not aware of any restrictions like that. So
okay.
And they're asking another question, I guess a follow-up. Will the present JC PS board members be able to run again? That's another pretty good question.
Yes, they will be able to run again. I know Taylor Everett, who represents the entire East, is going to run again. A couple of others have said that they're going to not run, and I think it's unknown on maybe 3 or 4 of the others.
Mm-hmm. And another question, could a new census for legal citizens help with regulating benefits for legal citizens? I'm
100% in favor of that. It's a national issue. It's something that Trump and the Congress have got to get done. I think a mid-decade census to correct that and have only U.S. citizens counted in the census would be a great idea, but it's not something we can control from Kentucky.
What a question.
Because I want to make sure we get this in for the folks that have texted us, and I guess this comes from the earlier conversation. But can we trust to follow through with? We can't get Andy's financials, and they go on to say, can we have instruction in English only? I know that's been I guess a pet peeve for Debbie in particular,
Yeah.
But I think all of us,
we have to speak 160 languages in Jefferson County Public Schools. and the reason is because for decades,
that is insane.
How we got there, for decades, Catholic Charities has been bringing in refugees from a lot of other countries and settling them in groups. And some people, God bless them, they've been persecuted and attempted murdered in their countries, and they wait 10 or 20 years and they finally get here and they're working jobs and they go through extensive background check. And I'm glad the United States was able to give them haven, but we've brought way too many into Louisville. We're overwhelming the school system and the hospitals with these folks, and the language barrier is a tremendous cost to us. And I think when you have somebody from another country that is receiving tax dollars for their education, the very first thing they need to do is learn to speak and read and write English before they move on to anything else.
Absolutely. That is, I mean, I don't understand why that is just not common sense to everyone. It's ridiculous. So whatever can be done.
Common sense is not as common as you would think, Debbie.
Oh, I know. But what can we do as citizens to rectify that? Can I work on getting a bill to put that out there? Yeah. I'm serious. I'm so worn out with this.
We need a better school board. We need better candidates running for school board, and we need to elect a better school board because our Constitution gives them the power. They are elected officials. They control a budget twice the size of Metro Louisville.
Oh, my goodness.
and with absolutely no qualifications other than a high school diploma. And you don't have to have any financial acumen, and they're handling double the money that our 26-member Metro Council handles.
Oh my goodness!
And
Tell me this: what am I dreaming? Did I not read somewhere that also that they wanted other people to be on these boards that might be financial people? You know,
we did that.
Okay.
That got knocked out in negotiations.
Oh, okay. I thought I read that. Okay.
I'll go back to this statement that 55% of our state budget goes to education-related things, and the education cabal, which includes universities and the Department of Education, has tremendous clout in the legislature. So.
Well, Adam Gillette had a very good point that he made to us from Accuracy in Media. He said we should pattern ourselves after Florida, Tennessee. He named off a bunch of states that they went after. They coalesced together as states and formed their own accreditation system and told the others, forget it. This is our accreditation system, and you're going to follow by what we want done. And they did, and they've had success. Or college? College, and he even mentioned for K through 12 if we want. He was just trying to throw out things that they're doing, but that was for college, yes, for sure. So
some states elect their education commissioner. I think we might have at one time here, but it's an appointed position now. So the biggest thing citizens can do is don't elect a Democrat to the governor's office.
Exactly.
Because a Democrat has 4,000 board appointments that govern all kinds of things we do in this state, and how we elected Andy Beshear, not once but twice, to the governor's role and let him have full sway over education kills me. If we had another Republican in office.
And he's bought and owned by the teachers' unions. It's very obvious on everything that he does. And for those that are listening to the radio, Daniel, our producer, likes to put up the No Kings
right. We could
cartoon figures. It's honestly, it's worth watching us on TV just so you can see that little graphic that's put up.
And I know maybe really, John can't say this, but Debbie says he was elected because it was cheating, electoral. Debbie can say that because I'm saying it, and I believe that. So because it's impossible that he would be our governor and everyone else a Republican in the constitutional offices. So you can't convince me otherwise, but hopefully it won't be happening again.
Well, I'm going to not try to convince you otherwise, and I can say that every single loophole and cheating allegation that we found in 2019, we've now changed the laws to close.
I know, and you have done an amazing job.
They will come up with, I'm sure they'll come up with new ways to cheat, but we're going to keep trying to catch them. So I think we have come a long, long, long way since 2019. And I was infuriated at the time as well, and was at the forefront of that investigation with people from 6 states in here helping me. So.
Yep. I remember. Yeah. I remember.
Another quick question that came in too, John, is really a good question. Why has the Kentucky Attorney General not investigated the governor, or certainly the governor's office?
Well, there has to be an allegation of a crime, and not just something we don't like, and not just something unethical, but a crime that's on the books, and someone has to accuse them of the crime, and there has to be legitimate evidence, I guess is the answer to that. I mean, since 2015, when we've had governor and attorney general from opposite parties, they're always at odds. You do something, the attorney general sues you, back and forth. So, and, Greg Stumbo, back when we had a Governor Fletcher in, was regularly coming into the governor's office, having press conferences, trying to, arrest people and fire people on Friday afternoon for the cameras. So there's a lot of, you can be a political theater attorney general, or you can be a real lawman trying to.
Yeah. I just wonder what that's going to take, because, we know that Allison Ball just recently testified in Washington, D.C., and
fraud, waste, abuse.
And abuse / fraud. I don't know if that's what anything more is going to be able to be said with regard to that. Is to the tune of $1 billion plus,
sure.
In Kentucky alone. And I just find that absolutely, let me tell you, I've been dealing with a sick mother-in-law, and it's disgusting when you see the way things that she's being treated as far as by the system, as opposed to money and taxpayer money that should be going and rightfully going in that direction, to Medicaid. And we find out that it's going in butter the bread of the cronies, such as, and obviously it's mainly Democrats that are and we know certainly that's what we're seeing coming out of the other states, from Minnesota to California. And that's what people are sick and tired of. I'm sick and tired of the waste. I'm sick and tired of paying my hard-earned money to a system that has been set up on fraud. And thank God for President Trump with Doge to get that whole light being shed on it. But we're just getting started. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I mean, in every big organization, there is waste, fraud, and abuse. We have way, way, way too much. And I think those of us raised in the 60s and 70s were kind of taught that there's some responsible adults that are going to take care of that for us. Well, it turns out there's not.
You're right.
And we are the responsible adults. We the voters, we the taxpayers. We got to get pretty aggressive with that. I'm toying with the idea of coming up with some kind of a bounty system that if you rat your neighbor out who's
I like that.
Cheating welfare or whatever it is, that you can get a bounty. Now, that may have
we just had Dog the Bounty Hunter here about a week ago. You should have talked to him.
But I think, like if you turn somebody in as a tax cheat, I think you can get a 10% bounty. So why don't we do that for welfare cheats and food stamp cheats and Medicaid cheats and, let people start policing themselves. Now, there are plenty of debates to be had about that, the social ramifications of, if you rat out your neighbor, is he going to come try to inflict violence on you? And, what if it's a false accusation? But I think we need to look at some of those things. We need to get ordinary citizens involved in eradicating waste, fraud, and abuse.
But you know what? We're living in some very crazy times where maybe that's the only way. We have to go back to the Cowboys and Indians days and the settling of the country. I'm serious. I mean it. And I'm a female, but I could go bear hunting with the switch when you get me upset enough. Okay?
Believe me, I know.
But, I wanted to ask you, too, I think I read this, that you all passed something about where you would have a say, I don't know if it's the legislature or whatever, over the governor's cabinet members, kind of like hearings like they do on the national level. I kind of like that idea here, too. That brings accountability also. Yeah,
that was also in my House Bill 10. The Senate added that. It's a kind of a Senate confirmation of the cabinet picks and a bunch of high-level jobs, the way the U.S. president is. Like I say, I fully expect there to be challenges and lawsuits to that. The word they love to say is it's an unfunded mandate or it's unconstitutional. That's we hear that 100 times a day in the last few days. But
it's like, prove it.
Prove it.
Right.
Yeah, easy to say, hard to prove.
I know. Well, gosh, John, this is really interesting. And I hope Bob's getting some more texts in 502-571-0970. And we'll be back very shortly, everyone. And I want to remind you, too, May 8, we're going to have a great special on the Senate candidates that's going to lead into the Senate debate on May 8. But we're going to be right back. Don't go away. We're going to finish out strong today with Representative John Hodgson.
back to Kentucky's Voice Radio online at kyvoice.org.
Hi, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. We are here today with Representative John Hodgson, District 36. And hey, Bob, I know we've got more questions and things coming in on text, so I'll let you tell us what's going on.
Yeah, the text line has been smoking today, so that's really nice to see. Another text, has Kentucky turned in voter rolls to the Department of Homeland Security? Person wants to know where we stand on that.
Okay, so we passed a bill that I wrote about half of. It was House Bill 139, and we directed our Board of Elections to do just that. We said we wanted to protect people's personal information. We just want to give name, birth date, and the last four of their social and bounce that across the federal databases and have them tell us back whether or not that person is a U.S. citizen. There's challenges with that. There's lawsuits. Certain members of the government have not been willing to cooperate. We still don't know what's going to happen with the U.S. SAVE Act, but unfortunately that got negotiated down into taking effect in 2 years instead of right now, because the county clerk said they just aren't capable of dealing with that issue right now. I don't agree, but that's what happened.
You mean David Yates?
Sounds like a stall tactic to me.
Me too.
I agree. Yeah. The County Clerks Association opposed it and had enough clout with the Senate to get that provision put in there. The bill just wasn't going to pass without that. And the bill had about 40 other good things in it. So we let that go. But on the good news side,
that sausage.
That needs to come back, because I disagree with that. I mean, I've worked my same precinct forever. It was like I told Jim Waters yesterday. I said, we only have 600 or 700 people that come through and vote. Between me and the other Republican and 2 Democrats, you mean to tell me if I had to hand count these things, let's say, really?
Well, that's not really the issue. The issue is
I know
citizenship.
the citizenship, right? But I'm just saying, don't tell me that you can't deal with that data. That's crazy. But anyway.
Well, the reality of politics is you have to have 51 votes to get anything done, and we couldn't get the bill passed without a compromise. So I don't always get. Amazingly,
happens every single day. That's for sure. Hey, another question. A little bit tongue in cheek here, but I suspect I know the answer to this. Has Andy set the record yet on most vetoes overrode?
Well, I hope so. We did 32 on the last day, and we think that veto override day should be a state holiday because we have a good time with it. But I do want to go back to the illegal alien thing a little bit. So I passed a bill a couple of years ago, House Bill 44, that said the courts have to report to the Board of Elections every time somebody gets removed from a jury for not being a U.S. citizen. Mm-hmm. How do they get on the jury rolls? Well, it's taxpayer rolls, driver's license rolls, and things of that, and the voter rolls are the 3 sources. So in the 20 months since then, about 3,500 people have been kicked off of juries for indicating that they are non-citizens, self-designating, I'm not a citizen. Of those, 355 were registered to vote. They've been pulled off the rolls. They have to be, by law, pulled off the rolls immediately, and their names have to be turned over to the Attorney General for investigation and potential prosecution. So,
and deportation included?
We can't deport in Kentucky. So federal stuff.
Really? Okay.
No, it's the U.S. Constitution. Okay. Only the feds can regulate immigration.
But can they know that information, that you had 3,500 people say they're not citizens? 3,500
said that, you can be a citizen and be a legal resident, and said they're an illegal alien. They can't vote if they're not a citizen. We passed a constitutional amendment. So 3,500 said they're not U.S. citizens. Of those, 355 were registered to vote, which would be a Class D felony.
Yes.
So those names have been turned over to the Attorney General for investigation, and I am like a bulldog on a cheap bone following up on that. Make sure
that's one thing I know for a fact. I've worked with you enough over the last 5 years that you are like a dog with a bone. So, yeah.
But I want to see if those people actually cast a vote knowing that they're illegal citizens. That's a Class D felony. I want to see them prosecuted. I want to see jail time. And if they are illegal, obviously refer them to the federal government for deportation.
Great.
Here's a really good question. This will probably be the last one I'll be able to take, because I really want to get in. We have about 8 minutes to go in the show, and I want to get to your things. But this is a really good question, important questions. Person says, I'm a poll worker, just went through most recent training, and thank you for your service for doing that, was told by the clerk's office workers, kind of in a boasting way, that they are resisting complying with the supplying the voter roll information.
Yes, that is correct. The county clerk's organization voted to oppose our House, what became House Bill 139, and they raised quite a ruckus with their senators. And even though we passed it out of the House over their objections, it passed narrowly with about, 55 votes, something like that. When it went over to the Senate, they barraged them with phone calls and from small counties and said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And so we had to put a 2-year delay on the implementation of that voter roll citizenship.
Yeah,
check.
and you'd already said that, but I'm just repeating that that's the feedback one of our listeners is getting. But anyway, about out of time on the show today. I want to make sure you have several other important things.
Well, he wants to talk budget, right? Budget? Are we interested in? Yes, we're interested.
So we should be. So just high level, we have a balanced budget amendment in Kentucky. We can't spend more than we take in. So we have economic forecasts of tax revenues. We've got to spend within that. We've been very financially responsible in the last 10 years since the Republicans have had the legislature. So every year we have now created a budget reserve trust fund. Some call it the rainy day fund, but we have billions of dollars in there, and it's enough money to sustain our operations for 45 to 60 days. We don't want to go below 45. We don't want to go above 60. We want to kind of be in that Goldilocks zone, just right in the middle. So every 2 years with the budget, we say, how much can we take out of the budget reserve trust fund and go spend on one-time worthy projects? No ongoing obligations, but one-time projects. And we get thousands of recommendations from, the Humane Society, the Red Cross, the ballet, somebody wants a water plant, somebody, all kinds of needs around the state for one-time money. They make an application, they make their case, and those are considered over the course of about 6 months for inclusion. So I'm happy to say that we were able to spend or invest, some would say, about $1.7 billion out of the rainy day fund into those one-time projects. And Louisville did very, very well. I think it's some great stuff. Great organizations got it. There's also about 80% of the applicants didn't get the money they wanted. And I'm sorry about that, but we only had so much money. Mm-hmm. It's just a one-time thing. But, we're going to do a lot of things in Louisville with downtown revitalization. We're going to get a police training center in the East End, which
That's
will
wonderful.
Let people sleep at home instead of having to drive all the way to Richmond to get, police training. So a lot of good things in that budget. And when we're done, we take whatever is left over and we redeposit money into the budget reserve trust fund to make sure that it never gets below that 45-day mark. And we watch that. And when we can hit our metrics, we're going to aim for another tax cut. We've taken the income tax in the state of Kentucky down from 6% to 3%, and we want to go even lower.
Good. I have a question.
The closer you get to the goal, the harder it gets.
That is all great news. I was thinking about, Bob and I were talking earlier in the week about AI and these data centers that have, been, that are wanting to be built. And we understand the importance of them, but we also understand how much they cost and the energy they will use. And we've listened to the president talking about he wants them to be self-sufficient with energy. Where are you on that topic in general? What is your thought process? Because I know when these things are going to come before you all in different counties, I just want to know what you think, because Kentucky's beautiful. We don't want to ruin our beautiful land and just plunk these places down in the middle of nowhere. So
I think we need to be doing data centers in areas that are already industrial, because they do make noise. I mean, they're not like a smoke belching factory or something like that, but they do make noise. They consume electricity and they consume fresh water. So need to be somewhere near a river like the Ohio. I think they should be self-sufficient in terms of electricity. I don't want our rates going up to pay for that data center. And I think people are pretty well agreed on that. Of course, Elon has the idea that he's going to leapfrog this whole thing, and we're going to put data centers in space with solar power. Don't have to cool them, don't have to power them. And he says, quit worrying about this. We're going to take care of this in 4 or 5 years. So
that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
That's a great solution. And you don't want to be here, hey, we just finished our data center that cost $1 billion, and Elon already put one in space. So. But I use AI every day. It's super useful. It's amazing what you can get done with it. And I think that is going to completely change our society and the workplace over the next 5 years.
Huge.
I agree. I tease my husband. I keep telling him he's having an affair with AI because I'll walk in our living room and he's sitting there talking to the phone. He's asking IA questions. I just crack up. But it's been a great tool for him and work and different things, and he's teaching me how to use it as well. So it can be great, and I only want goodness from all these things. Let's pick out the good parts.
AI is like fire. You can use it to warm your house and cook your food. Or you can also burn the house down and kill everybody with it. So,
exactly.
I grew up watching the Terminator movies. I know what can happen.
Exactly.
So, evil AI is the worst nightmare you can imagine. The only good AI I think there is Grok. The other ones have a very liberal bias at their base that they can't get out.
Right. Oh my goodness. So, and we make sure when we're asking questions, we say we want every conservative viewpoint you can find. So yeah. Right. So anyway.
I have a personal question we've talked about many times on this, and I had a great video, but we just did not have enough time to get it on the show today. But Steve Bannon is pushing very hard in addressing the Sharia law issue. I know it's something you and I've talked about many, many times. They've gotten really far along with it down in Texas, over in South Carolina. Where do we stand today on that?
So one of my colleagues filed a bill to stop Sharia law. I co-sponsored it. It never saw the light of day. So
why?
We heard it was personality conflicts, and I don't like that. I'm sorry. This is critical. Yeah. This is critical to us. So if your colleagues are listening, hi, I'm a citizen, and I'm speaking for thousands, if not millions. We want that law passed.
And that's the thing I want to point out real quick, too. John is right on top of the issues.
He is. I agree. He is.
I think I know some reasons why that I can't. We don't have the time to talk about it right now today, but there is forces at work. I'll just say this much: in our state that might have the appearance of being conservative, at least conservative ideology. But at the end of the day, that's not really, and they prove that by bills that they kill and things that they stop. And it's frustrating, but that's the way it's always been, folks.
We'll try it again next year. What people always say is, "Do we have Sharia law in Kentucky today?" And you say no, and they say, "We don't need a law." Well, okay.
Well, you guys, I hate to say it, but we're running out of time. But John Hodgson. Okay. You have been a blessing today and a great resource, a wonderful leader in our state. We really appreciate everything. District 36, please keep it going. And Bob, it was great to be with you today. Everybody have a phenomenal weekend, and we'll see you back on Monday. Join us for Kentucky's Voice.